started more than one stream by not having my microphone work.
Yeah, I feel like I remember that happening.
Okay, let's tell people that I'm streaming and then, I don't know, do some actual playing Magic.
What magic you gonna play?
I've got a league to finish. Not a league. Constructed event. That's what they're called.
Okay. What?
Standard.
What about what format? Yeah. No time, I please. Roll.
I can't split the two. We'll see how this goes. I've got one more loss to give in this one, so we'll see how it is. The key to this deck is to never get paired against mono red, which is definitely not the cheap deck that everyone plays on Arena at all.
Solid plan.
The deck is fun to play, so who needs Arclight Phoenixes? They're overrated. And you can just play some big Drakey boys and just kill people that way. Yeah, seems like a fine hand. Often have to keep hands that have just got weird chunky mana. And normally I play a Steam Vents there, but it's Arena, so there's a good chance you want to kill something on turn 1. Like a Lantern or else. So hopefully this would set up Steam Vents here. And Electromancer so we can 2 mana Ionize next turn. Green white. Fawn Lieutenant. Let's just get out of the way now. I actually like being fairly aggressive for removal in this deck because oftentimes you end up just burning people out with Expansion Explosion or like a Banefire or something. Also part of the fun is just keeping your opponent off having any real board state. Wait, Memorial to Unity, that's a new one. So green, what does this one do again? Look at the top 5 cards of your library, reveal a creature among them and put it into your hand. Okay. Do some opting. Just want some lands. Preferably not that land, but... Be down. I think I'm just going to hold up Ionize for now. There's some fairly nasty things that could come down on 4. Ooh, Night of Autumn. Good job I didn't play Search Class Counter. So that's going to be a 4-3. Yeah, I don't mind. Let's just do this now. We can play Search next turn and hold up Shock. I'm kind of glad the opponent's getting in for 1 there. Because that means we get in for another 2. No more Nights of Autumn, please. Although we could blink of an eye to do that in response to a Night of Autumn. Well, and there it is. Let's see what they decide to do. Yeah, I am okay with this. I'll make my opponent play a 3 mana 2-1. So I like Goblin Electromancer, you just get to do so much for cheap. And when you've got one out, that was a very nice draw. So, shock this. Another 2 points on the board. And now we continue to search. Opponent's also stuck on 3 lands, which is quite nice. Search should flip pretty quickly if there isn't. Okay, still Leaf Champion's not the best. Search might actually flip this turn. Let's see what we get here. Lava Core would be nice. Ionize. I like having an Ionize. We don't get to get in this turn. And we can't block that Steel Leaf Champion, but if there's something like a Blanchwood Armor here, we get to Ionize it. Rabid Bite. I'm going to Ionize that. Now Circle is going to flip. No, this is standard. With the blue-red build I have because I don't have Arclight Phoenixes. Don't want that, I don't think. Ooh, didn't want that either. We've got so much mana reduction because of the Electrons, so I'm going to do this now. I'm going to take a Chemist's Insight, because we can do this for 2. I think I'll attack with 1 Electromancer. I guess we've got to watch out for like Blanchwood Armor or something. What did you play? Unfortunately, we were a bit sick and run down, so FNM wasn't on the table. There's another Rabid Bite. I meant to cast that before that resolved. So I'm intrigued what the sweetness was. Crawl Harpooner. Okay, we're in quite a bit of trouble now. We're going to be down to 3. So our future definitely needs to involve a Lava Coil or like a Banefire. Sulphur Falls. What's best to do here? Chemisters or Azcan? Probably Azcanta, we're looking for very specific things. Expansion Explosion. That was not the one we wanted. So we can do that for 0 right now, so let's opt. Nope. That's a radical idea. And that will not be enough. Oh, glad to get that. You morally 3-0'd. But what did you actually score did you get? Still, and you also still haven't told me what the sweetness was. Okay, wrap that league up. Oh, there's a rare in there. Nothing. Hey, Cyborg Tech. Okay, let's draft. Oh wait, no, wrong thing. I really hate that they take away regular guilds draft. In lieu of like randomly having like core set. What would people be more interested in? Core set draft or more constructed with this blue-red Drake stuff? So you lost 2 game threes because you forgot to put on your sideboard the multicolor card I could glittering wish. So you had a combo deck but you didn't have to pay off. What were you playing that's got glittering wish in it? I'm really curious. Okay, Guest Guy Ascendancy is pretty sweet. I'm kind of in paper hoping to pick up some Arclight Phoenixes at some point because I really like the idea of the Mardu Pyromancer deck that's playing them. I think it's playing those over... It's like basically playing those, dropping a lot of like the Blood Moon, Colligan's Command 3 mana stuff, and then adding in like things like Manamorphose and like more keeper cantrippy type things, which sounds really sweet. It does mean the deck loses even harder to Graveyard Hate, but you know, at least you can hard cast a 4 mana 3/2, unlike when you Graveyard Hate, you know, someone rests in peace you and you're looking at your Bedlam Reveler being like, maybe, just maybe, if I draw 7 straight lands. Draft or constructed. Let's stick with Constructed for a league. So, amongst all these decks that I can't play is this deck, which is what we're playing. Which I'm still not sure how I feel about. It's got some good stuff going on in it. It's definitely basically the Arclight Phoenix deck without the Arclight Phoenixes, and it's playing a bit more of a control-y game. It's also not what I would be doing in paper, but Arena kind of calls for a different mix of removal and card draw. The one thing this deck is making me realise is that Chemist's Insight is really, really not the card draw spell that I was hoping for. I'm hoping we get a sweet Azorius draw spell, because I'm not a big fan of this. But yeah, if it was a paper, I'd definitely play more Niv Mizzets, for example. And the Banefire is probably not in the main board anymore. I should probably get that out of here. Can't spell Banefire. I actually am curious to try and Trancing Melody in the main deck. And I can't spell. So let's see how this goes. So much nicer on Arena to just be like, I'm going to put in 500 gold, and if I go 4-3 I get like basically ahead, as opposed to Mitgo where it's just like, all those tickets. I just can't imagine a world in which I ever play Standard on Mitgo again, unless it's for like a PTQ or something. And I highly suspect that all that stuff's going to be coming to Arena anyway. Arena also much more fun for streaming. I'm planning to try and do streaming a bit more, and eventually I'll get that extension that everyone has that you can just hover over. Like, I'm amazed by that extension where if you hover over it as a viewer, it tells you what the card is. That's a weird hand. It's a weird hand. I think I probably wouldn't keep it on. I probably shouldn't keep this. If I'm against any sort of aggressive deck, I will get absolutely run over. I probably want to opt to turn one. The avatar thing, the Ajani, yeah. How can you not go with Ajani? I went Island Go. If this is like the mono blue deck, I definitely don't want to just keep a mountain and hope to find things. So, okay, well, neither here nor there. Okay, so Lightning Strike means we'll keep up Sulphur Falls. Yeah, it's one of the small things about Arena I just like is having avatars like that. Wow, looks like we're playing a slight mirror match. This deck is interesting in mirror because, especially now I've taken the Banefire out, is oftentimes you kind of end up going for a burn plan, and you've got to kind of really know what to do with your removal. Is the Arena meta similar to the line paper? I would probably say it is not. I think the big difference for me between Arena and paper in terms of metagame is that there are a lot of people who will pick up the mono blue / mono red / mono white decks because you don't need as many like rare wild cards for them, and they'll play that. So you'll run into a lot of red white decks. Hard cast Arclight Phoenix. So that's actually quite nice for us because we can draw 2 here, and then we get to Lava Coil this, and that one's never coming back. Lava Coil tends to be the most important removal spell in this matchup because it kills everything. So let's get rid of that. Hold up Blink of an Eye. Hold up Shock and Lightning Strike. Yeah, if Phoenix was a 3/3, that would be even better. I mean, it's a bit of a weird one because you often, if you're using removal on it, you're in a desperate situation where you're probably not going to win anyway, or you are going to win because you're getting it out of the way. But Lava Core is quite a nice one for that. This is the kind of card I really appreciate when they put in Standard because it isn't amazing, but it's quite good in this metagame. Another Arclight Phoenix. That one I'm just going to shock down, I think. I'm super curious as to what my opponent's hand is. It makes me think my opponent's hand is like full of removal. I think I'm going to play a Crackling Drake here, because if I hit a land, then I can hold up Lightning Strike or Blink of an Eye to bounce it back, and also if I hit a land it gets me close to Niv Mizzet, which I suspect is going to be an absolute house in this matchup. Yeah, I should have. Electromancer. Yeah, almost like, I also should not have said I can hold up Shock, because I cannot with this mana. I suspect this Drake is going to die. If it doesn't, then I really don't know what's going on with my opponent's hand. Oh, entrancing that. Oh wow, that's actually great for us. So let's Electromancer to make this a bit more efficient. So one thing I like about this deck is that I just like got a bunch of burn that could be used at some point as well. Like it's often a case of like really just want to get as much like. Oh wow, the Mirari Conjecture. That's a spicy one. So okay, so they got back Shock, they get back a Sorcery next, so they're going to get Entrancing Melody back, and then they get the copy. That does make me want to play this slightly differently. But on the other hand, so Entrancing Melody is blue X, so they've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I play Niv Mizzet now, then they can't just steal that. And I imagine they're going to have to struggle to deal with this now, and I want to get this down before they can do the third chapter, because then I could just kind of go wild with burn spells and kind of get a hell of a lot of damage in there. Because I think for this deck to kill a Niv Mizzet, it needs at least 2 removal spells. Or like a Banefire. And if they can't deal with it this turn, then I think it's going to be very hard for us to not win from there. So there's the Electromancer. So either this is going to be 2 removal spells for cheap, or they're trying to set up for Entrancing Melody next turn with the reduced cost. If which that's the case, I'm definitely killing that Electromancer. Ooh, Blink of an Eye. I'm not killing anything this turn, so we'll get in our ping. I'll be interested to see what the follow-up is here, because if they don't do anything that makes me think Ionize. Okay, so it's not Ionize. Unless they were going for a land and were being very greedy about it. Okay, so now they're going to burn me. Oh, right, and this gets an Arclight Phoenix back, right. Until end of turn, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. So, in hand, as far as I'm aware, they might have no burn. We've got more than enough removal to kill these 2 things. We don't want to play anything out into Entrancing Melody, so I think we just pass the turn. But we're just going to do this now because we need to discard it. We're going to discard the hand size otherwise, and we were going to kill it anyway. I think actually with this on the stack, let's kill this too. We could have another Mirari conjecture, that would be annoying. Radical idea. So the Phoenix is coming back, but we're going to have the removal for it. Charter Course. Draw 4, discard 2. Now, Mirari Conjecture is a very powerful card if you get to resolve it in full. Not dead yet. Another Charter Course. I think it's gonna be hard for them to kill us this turn. I guess they're relying on kind of phoenixing us out. How many phoenixes have they got in the graveyard now? 1. Oh, they've got all 3. That actually does make it a bit trickier. But now they've Radical Idea, they don't have any burn for us. So we get to kill 2 of those phoenixes. Go down to 7. Resolve a Niv Mizzet. But they've got 8 mana, so they can actually steal a Niv Mizzet at this point, which is a bit annoying. They've probably got enough cards to start bringing stuff back. Okay, that was a great draw. Definitely want to Drake down just to deal with this Entrancing Melody, I think. Let's get rid of... Let's exile Phoenix number 2. The thing is as well, if the Entrancing Melody here, that's their entire turn, and we can play out our own Crackling Drake on our turn, and that will block it. I think these decks have moved away from Warlord's Fury, so we don't have to worry about the trample. Tormenting Voice, Radical Idea. So they're going for the Phoenixes again. And I mean, they will be able to do it. But depending on like the last few cards... Okay, so there's a Lava Coil. So we're going to take 6 here. That'll do it. Half-Life Phoenix is a very powerful card. This one is I need to actually play with, because I just keep telling myself in my head that it just doesn't strike me as very good, but it clearly is. That seems a little too sketchy. This seems fine for a 6. Don't think I want an Ionize just yet. Let's see what Lamp Cactus has for us. They have Mono Red. This is one of the dangers of running this deck on Arena, is that Mono Red does tend to run all over it. They tend to put you in a position where you need to be using your removal all the time. Which in turn ends up with you kind of always tapping out and then they can resolve an experimental frenzy, which becomes very difficult for you to beat. Another firebrand. Let's see. There's nothing else. I will just kill one of these, I think. I was waiting to say in case there was a 2 power or a runaway steamkin. So we'll take our 1. The Electromancer almost never survives in this matchup, but if it does, it's quite key. Yeah. Nothing as a follow-up. That's an interesting one. It means their hand is probably full of burn. In which case, it's probably better for that burn to be being thrown at Electromancers than us. Yep, take 4. I've been seeing less risk factors recently. I wonder why. Electromancer down. They're looking for a land or a removal spell here, I think. Yeah, so let's just get rid of this. I think it would be nice to find a land, safely an island, get a Crackling Drake down. Because the thing with mono red as well, it's not only that you can stabilize against mono red, but because the deck essentially only has like 5 win conditions, you need to kind of delay them for a while to be able to put yourself in a position where you can kind of play a Drake and attack for, you know, 1,000,000. Whereas for them, they've got a lot of, you know, they have a lot of live draws that even if it's a creature or a burn spell, you know, you're kind of in a bad spot. Chain Whirler. Well, that wasn't a great one for us. Never really want to put a Chain Whirler back, but we might have to. Was that a repeating barrage? Yeah, so there's Frenzy. I think we have to take 3 here. It does put us in an awkward spot, but I think we need to draw so we can kind of blink an eye this away and hope to counter an eye back down, or find something that actually kills this Chain Whirler. That's part 1. Stop my opponent's upkeep. That's hopefully what that's going to do. Okay, it did not seem to stop in their upkeep. Oh, right, okay, I've not had to do this before. That's where you stop on your opponent's things. Good to know. It's a weird spot because they've got 5 cards in hand off the risk factor. It might actually be better to let them have the frenzy for now because they most likely have the kill in these top 5 cards. Whereas the chance experimental frenzy, there's enough bricks in there for it to be okay. I mean, we're in a very bad spot anyway. Legion War Boss, that's... So we get to gobble this token. Then blink of an eye this. So Crackling Drake will get up to 6. And it can always destroy the Experimental Frenzy, but that will take them a turn as well. Tell you what, we're getting close to being able to kind of do a weird combo off here. It would have been nice to be able to play that Drake this turn, but, you know, can't always have that. Steamkin. Another Steamkin. Steam Vents was not what I wanted to see there. So if I Radical Idea'd, I could Banefire for 5. I think I need to Idea first. Probably didn't want Chemist's Insight. So these Drakes will have to play on defense for this turn. Ooh, Ionize was a nice draw. So I think if I survive this turn, we win. No, Ionize was not a nice draw. I'm so used to casting Ionize with an Electromancer out that I'm used to, in my head it costs blue-red. If we somehow get away with this one, I'll be amazed, but I feel like we're not going to. That said, if we were just dead, I feel like the opponent would have killed us by now. But if they can't kill us this turn, then they are dead on their turn. And if they had any... The only thing they could have that means we live is... Okay, that's interesting. So you draw 3. They must be looking for, like, Lava Coil or something? Like, specifically Lava Coil. Or something to make the Steamkin big enough that we have to block it. So that looks like what they're doing. Decline. Is our opponent close to milling? No. Okay, so we are going to have to block one of these Steamkins. But that still leaves us live to draws like Banefire. No, we took the Banefire out. Expansion Explosion would maybe be enough? I'm not sure. Actually, that Drake's done good work, so... So we're looking for 6 damage to do. Shock. So this makes Drake 8. Idea would make it 9. Oh, that's the kill, I think. Oh, beautiful. I have no idea how we won that game. That's the power of Crackling Drake, bro. Oh, that's very satisfying. Very rare does this deck beat mono red. Especially in those circumstances, we were dead to rights. I guess maybe that's why we're seeing less risk factors. It's a bit of a like nombo with experimental frenzy, isn't it? You know, you don't really get much out of it at all. I suppose one thing I could do is deck that I haven't yet is pop Enigma Drakes into it. Because I think they serve like a similar purpose. They're not powerful as Crackling Drake. Like the card draw really helps. But they are easier to cast. And 4 toughness is actually quite a bit at the moment, I think. This hand. This hand is mediocre. But if there's one thing I think I've kind of found with this deck is that I don't really think it mulligans very well. Let's start out by getting this Guildgate down. That means we can go Guildgate, Mountain, Sulphur Falls. Ideally, I don't think this deck should be playing those as a Guildgates either, but I just seem to be stuck with them. Opponent didn't play a land, so either they, whatever the equivalent of an arena F6 is, or what? Does F6 work in arena? No, it does not. Spacebar does though. But I'm not going to do that because it's just the constant sound of the thing. I should have drawn a card there. I'm so distracted by this weirdness. My opponent appears to be on mono red and kept a 0 lander. We've all been there. I assume it's the fact that, you know, probably just mispressed. Mispressed keep instead of mulligan. So I think we just drop a Drake here and just kind of go for the burn plan. Oh, they just discarded a lava coil as well, which means they've either got a lot of them or they're going to really regret that in the face of a crackling Drake. And they just concede. That was unfortunate, but you know, maybe the key to beating mono red is to stream and things just happen to go in your favour. Because that was a very, very unlikely series of events for those last 2 games. Working our way up the ladder. So one thing that I'm kind of enjoying about Arena at the moment is there's a lot of decks I want to play, but I don't necessarily want to be sinking a bunch of money into it. And just kind of grinding these constructed events is quite nice. You know, you only have to have a winning record in order to get your money back, and you always get free cards. I've already got my daily rewards and my weekly rewards. Which, to be fair, I wish there was more daily rewards. Or it had the thing like you do in Hearthstone, where every 3 wins you get, like... I don't know what it is in Hearthstone. I think every 3 wins you get 100 gold in Hearthstone. So there's definitely like a reason to keep playing. I mean, at the moment I can just keep playing because it's fun. And you know, the events come with their own rewards, but I think like that was a nice thing about Hearthstone, is that, you know, there was always incentive to just play one more. Let's drop that Lucky Mancer. If you don't play against mono red, you'll play against mono white, and mono white is broadly an easier matchup if it wasn't for one card, which I thought was going to be there, it's going to be timed really nicely, but it wasn't, which is a Danto Vanguard. A Danto Vanguard is particularly annoying to deal with. Actually, I don't want to attack. No attacks. Because that... do you get some interesting wins by making them... that seems like it would be a pain. You do get some interesting wins from constantly trying to kill their Adanto Vanguard. Actually, you know, I don't need... I think we can take 1 hit. I think, like, you can just, you know, 4 damage for the opponent to take off constantly making that Vanguard indestructible is, like, nothing to sniff at all. This could be interesting. Like, once you have 2 Electromancers out, you can really begin to do some crazy things with your mana. Call to the Feast. So we're going to be fighting some life gain nonsense by the looks of it. The one thing I wish this deck had, but again, it's, you just haven't got the right cards for it, is some Fiery Cannonades. Just to have a bit of a Wrath in the board. In the deck, even. Because at the moment, it can be a bit of a struggle against go white strategies, because you just don't have something that can just sweep up a lot of this mess. One thing about Call to the Feast, and you kind of get this with Heroic Reinforcements as well, it's one of the cards that Expansion Explosion really shines against, because Explosion's terrible otherwise in these matchups, but sometimes their Heroic Reinforcements becomes your one, and it just completely nullifies the effect of it, and if it puts them off attacking, you know, you just got 2 1/1s for nothing, really. More calls to the feast. Okay, this second Electromancer doesn't really do much, so let's just trade off while we can. Ionize. Don't want to lightning strike it because there's a good chance this deck's got like an Elenda the Dusk Rose or a Twilight Prophet, or something that I just want to kill with that instead. like a Maverin Thane or a Legion Lieutenant. These 1/1s, you know, they will eventually peck me to death. But I think there's definitely a lot of things that can make this a bit more scary. Legion's Landing, that I do want to deal with. Otherwise Legion's Landing can actually be a massive pain. My opponent not attacking here is just keep on analysing. Yeah, my opponent not attacking here is, for me, completely fine. It buys me the time to find something like a Crackling Drake or Niv Mizzet, because that is what will win us the game. Ajani Wise Counselor, +1 life. -3 creatures get +2/+. Yeah, that's getting countered. I don't think I've ever seen that one before. Is that from M19? I wasn't really paying much attention in M19, so I don't know if that's like one of the Planeswalker decks, Planeswalkers, or just an actual one. Okay, opponent has figured out that they should have been attacking me the whole time. We are a bit mana flooded. I should probably keep one of these lands in hand for Chemist's Insight now, because we can draw 4 in a turn. But yeah, we're going to have to be a little wary, because we're kind of getting into that zone where a Pride of Conquerors will just outright kill us. And you have to imagine a Vampires deck is running a Pride of Conquerors. There's Legion Lieutenant. So take 4. That's the turn. It is beginning to look a little dicey now. Champion of Dusk. That's pretty nasty. Draw 4. Was that draw 5? Struggling to think of what gets us out of this. It is an explosion, that's a start, so we can maybe deal 4 to this, or it depends. If there's like a Legion Lieutenant, then I think we'd have to aim at that. But I think we're probably dead here. If the opponent's got 8 cards in hand and can't kill us, then I'm not really sure what's going on. Yeah, Radiant Destiny. Yeah, So that's gonna give everything +1/+1. I can like block a Twilight Prophet, but I have to kill 2 things here. So I think I need to Expansion Explosion for 2. And hope to draw other things. Which is what we did. Possible I could have Explosion for more there. I think I forgot that Electromancer was going to reduce it by 1. What's this? Ashes of the Abhorrent. That's a little bit annoying. So what do I need here? More removal, really. Okay. Electromancer's a start, but we need to find another creature or a removal spell. Shivan Fire. Yeah, Ashes the Abhorrent. Oh, I appreciate it tells you why you can't do that. think any Lord effect... Okay, so that's... We're in a lot. I just can't imagine the scenario in which we survive now. Because that is gonna... Yeah, so they've got the City's Blessing, so they need to keep consistently not reveal anything above 2. And we need to find a way to kill both of these creatures. Okay, Crackling Drake is a good start. Lava Coil is not enough though, is it? No. Rough beats. Felt a little unfortunate there. We did end up with a lot of lands, but what can you do? I think after this, I think the change I'll make to this is that I think it is a deck that could definitely benefit from having the Enigma Drakes in it. It's a bit weird, I'm not used to tuning a deck in a long time. I think the last year or two of Standard I've just kind of, either been playing sparingly or broadly kind of cribbing off other deck lists. So I've kind of forgotten how to build and tune my own decks a bit. Let's keep that one. Glowy Spectrum. Yeah, it's always interesting when people lead off on Mountain, because I think everyone kind of goes like, mono red, but sometimes it is a blue-red deck instead. I tend to lead on Mountain purely to throw people off like that as well. So this means we'll likely be dealing with some more Arclight Phoenixes. Tormenting Voice, discarding Mountain. So we're playing the control here for sure. Steam Vents, you can go in tapped now. So definitely one of the ones where Shiv and Fire ends up a bit nicer because you can kill something like an Enigma Drake a bit more with it. I think the end goal of this Enigma Drake is probably going to be to steal it, I think. Crackling Drake. Maybe let's steal that instead. So that's Chemist's Insight. See if we can find the tools to remove this on next turn and go to the Drake the next time. Ooh, that was a lot of lands. It was possible we could have just Shiv and Fired and Lightning struck that one. Oh, but kind of rewarded there. I'm happy to take a hit off the Crackling Drake in order to steal it next turn. We can cast all these things, so let's get an Is It Guildgate down. It is a shame to burn a a lava coil on something like Enigma Drake, because oftentimes you're just kind of really hoping that you can use that on Arclight Phoenixes only. So let's take our beats. So opt Lightning Strike. Might want that. Probably do want that actually. So let's hope there's no blinks of an eye. So let's try this, because we can actually block our opponent's Crackling Drake profitably right now. And if not, we can definitely kill it next turn with a Shiv and Fire. I mean, if they attack blind, then I'm probably just taking it, because at the moment we can definitely maximise on our Drake more. Electromancer probably means that the Drake we've stolen is dying, though, to like a mix of Shock and Lightning Strike. Oh no, Tormenting Voice. So there's an Arclight Phoenix. It is the one positive to Lava Coil. To Drakes is that Crackling Drake, if you get it to resolve, can just block an Arclight Phoenix forever. But that turn did not really go to plan. So from the Electromancer can be such a pain. To deal with. From your opponent, just because the reduction really does come into play. So we'll take out that Phoenix and take out the Electromancer for now. We'll get around to the Drake. We've got a Shimfire for that, but I guess the plan is to kind of Chemist's Insight this one. Although, if they have another spell, which they probably will... Well, I've got a Radical Idea, so we actually are just dead on board. Maybe should have gone a different route with that. Gotta get me some Arclight Phoenixes, I think. Was that defeat number 3? I think it was. Doesn't look like we're getting good rewards either. Yeah, Shana. Flood of Recollection. Let's make some changes to this deck. Also, if anyone has figured out the ordering of decks, I would love to know, because I cannot figure it out at all. So let's drop some of those. Maybe drop an Iron Eyes. Enigma Drake. I also don't know if it's worth playing this single Arclight Phoenix I have right now. Maybe it is. Probably not, because we're not really using any of the Tormenting Voice package right now. But let's try it with the Enigma Drake. See if that does us any better. Before diving back in. The one thing I forgot to do there was swap out these at Guild Gates, because I think I've just got better options, and to be honest, a lot of the time I just wish I was playing basics. It is one of the problems when you're kind of grinding up your decks and you don't have the rares, is that sometimes you forget to take the old crappy dual lands out a bit. Well, this hand has a lot of things I like. Demir Guildgate. The other deck I do have is kind of like a blue-black control, but that's missing a lot of good cards for blue-black control at the moment, so I'm tending to stray away from it. Okay, if we're playing against a kind of control deck, then resolving Search for Azcanter on turn 2 should be pretty good. I suspect our opponent is going to respond with a Disinformation Campaign. The Disinformation Campaign control decks are an interesting one for me because, again, it's one of those cards I look at and it's like, this doesn't strike me as particularly worrying to play against, and sometimes it isn't, but other times it's just really grinds your deck down. It's also worth noting that if this is a control mirror, depending on what mix of creatures they're playing, we might want to kind of opt for a burning them out type route. at some juncture. You know, we've got good cards like the Drakes and Niv Mizzet in a kind of control mirror, but they do. I mean, black decks tend to have the best answers to Niv Mizzet because they'll have something like the Eldest Reborn, or they'll have Chupacabra, and sometimes the key is to just not really give them the opportunity to leverage those cards as well as they might, and kind of let them rot in hand until they feel compelled to just play it as a 4-mana creature. I'm gonna get rid of this. Happy to just keep drawing lands. So this screenshot I'll play an Enigma Drake. We'll see where our opponent is, because if they are kind of playing with like Chupacabras in hand, we might be able to just grind them out with having 3 Drakes in hand. Thief of Sanity. Was not expecting that. And I think that actually really works out for us, because that should be easy enough to get rid of. Lava Coil. I don't think we want Lava Coil. We'll opt pre-combat. Opting pre-combat just to make the Enigma Drake a little bit bigger. Because, this I'd expect this to be a fairly removal-heavy deck, so let's get the points in where we can, because again, sometimes the route you want to go against this deck is just to burn them out. I'm also not playing Electromancer here to minimise the effectiveness of a Ritual of Soot. The interesting one here is if they draw a Doom Whisperer. And if so, if they play it. Because we wouldn't be able to punch through it with our Drake, nor would we be able to remove it. And there it is. So it'll be very interesting to see what Search gives us. Shivan Fire. Yeah, I'm going to take Shivan Fire. And then I'm going to attack. Because if they block, we can kill it, and our Crackling Drakes will get bigger. Anyway. And honestly, I'm not too sad if they pay 2 life to Surveil. Which they did not. That's curious. And now I'm going to play his Crackling Drake out. We get a Lightning Strike, that might end up being pointed at face. It also means if they kill the Crackling Drake like a Ravenous Chupacabra, then our Azcanta's going to flip. We can flip it anyway with our own Lightning Strike or whatever we see off the top of it. Vraska's Contempt. Drake down. That is the one way it doesn't end up flipping. Right. Let's fire this off. So I'm going to drop the Electromancer here. Again, just kind of make them. I'm going to try and make them deal with 1 threat at a time, and try and punish them if they tap out again for something like a Disinformation Campaign or a Doom Whisperer. So let's see what we draw for this Radical Idea. Chemist's Insight. Cool, so that can resolve, and we'll get rid of it as a Guildgate. Now I think the idea for us is to try and find a position in which we can resolve a Crackling Drake and protect it, or a situation where we can play 2 Crackling Drakes, because there's no Black Wrath that can deal with 2 of those, I believe. So 1 Drake, 2 Drake, many Drake. And we've even got another Drake in hand just in case. I think the only way you could deal with this, they'd have to have double cast down. And if they do, then so be it. But I think playing out both Drakes here really lays the pressure onto them. And depending on what they have here, we might just be able to kill. what would we need? Shock would take them down to 11 and the Drake is up to 9. Alt puts up to 10. And I think double shock should probably do it. Yeah, I think the key there, as I said, we were hoping they would kind of be forced to tap out for something like a disinformation campaign. That way we don't have to worry about sinister sabotage, resolve 2 Drakes, and go from there. Back into the fray. It's a removal heavy hand, but a fine one I think. Like, there are absolutely matchups we could have where this would be a disaster. But similarly, if playing against some sort of aggressive deck, then it'll be quite nice to have free removal spells in hand. And there again is that kind of tricksy turn 1 mountain that could mean maybe it's mono red, maybe it's blue red. Or maybe it's black red. Dragon's Ultimate Discovery. So Discovery doesn't necessarily mean blue. Surveils a mountain into the graveyard. Oh, I'm definitely curious. Another shock. Currently have 7 points of burn in hand, in case it comes to that. Okay, so there's a Sulphur Falls. So this is probably some sort of Grixis thing. Forterasia. This isn't actually too bad for us. I assume what's being taken here is Chemist's Insight, and even then we can jumpstart that still. If Lava Coil is taken, that might be indicative of a kind of Grixis deck. We want to watch out for both Crackling Drakes from that, but also Nicol Bolas. Yeah, Nicky V can be a pesky one, especially if you're playing control deck. Surveil. Goblin Motivator got surveilled. And they made us discard Lightning Strike. Kind of at a loss for that one. Expansion Explosion is not a bad one to draw. I love Expansion Explosion. It's definitely not one you can play a 4 of, but it's just really sweet. The amount of things you get to expansion is quite nice, and then explosion can just really win you some games. Not going to expansion that, especially because expansion, like in a control mirror, sometimes you can copy their end of turn, Chemist's Insight, and keep up a counter spell, or sometimes you just kind of expansion a counter spell. I love cards that are versatile like that, and in a deck like this, sometimes it's just a draw 6, deal 6. So another discovery. Not much. Again, Goblin Motivator. I'm really curious. I think there's got to be something powerful for that to be giving haste to. Maybe it's just like Drakes, and it's just like, suddenly my 12/12 out of nowhere. Cool. Search Cantor is great. Let's see what our opponent comes up with here. A Swamp. Lazav the Multifarious. So that can become a Goblin Motivator. I don't know what's going on, but I kind of love it so far. I suppose what's going to happen is something massive is going to get ditched into the graveyard. Lazav copies it, and then Goblin Motivator gives Lazav haste, which I can only describe as neat. But we are going to kill that Lazav. But we'll draw off our Radical Idea and then Lava Coil it. Do we want an Opt? Can't hurt to have an Opt. I don't think we're going to struggle to stock our graveyard, and sometimes as Cantor's just nice to have as just a scry on your upkeep. Lazav down. Always a bit wary when I play it when you're in a situation like this where you just really don't know what your opponent's doing. It can make it pretty tricky to kind of evaluate what you should or shouldn't be using. Like again, it could be a thing where you're kind of like exploiting Crackling Drakes by having Lazav there as almost like, copies 8 through 12. I don't want any haste to be being given particularly. I'm also very curious, I assume they are not making Lazav a Goblin Motivator to protect it from things at the moment. Okay, let's see what Opt can give us. Kind of happy to pick up a few more lands at the moment, given we've got Explosion. Okay, that I'm happy to pick up as well. So it can Drake, keep up 2 removal spells, keep up expansion. Even draw a land for our tribbles. I have to admit, I don't have any great hopes of this Drake living. FIFA Sanity. Maybe this Drake is going to live. If it does, then I think we're very much in the driving seat. I mean, this is going pretty well. So what we're going to do is we're going to kill that Lazav and draw 4 cards, and then attack for 8. I can't. If they've kept blue up, I'd be a bit more worried about making this play, but I can't think what our opponent can have in black and red that they could get us with here. Okay. I do not understand why they did that. Maybe just messing around, to be honest. It's the kind of silly play I'd make if I had nothing to do with my mana. So they definitely need to deal with Drake and a Krater. A Krater is a good one. Maybe this is just like blue-black flyers or blue-black quasi-duplicate, but without removal. So I'm going to attack here. I assume our opponent will feel compelled to block, because, a lightning strike would be close to lethal. But they're not. So let's see if we can lethal them out here. I think that's enough to do it. If they have any removal, then we've got an Ionize. Boom. Not sure what our opponent was playing, but they seem to be trying to do sweet things, and, I'm always a fan of trying to do sweet things. This league definitely going better than the last one. I mean, we don't have as many wins yet, but you know, no losses so far. It is nice to have a decking stand that I kind of like enjoy and is sweet and is not completely awful. I really liked Enigma Drake back when it was in Arming and tried to brew decks around it, and it's always kind of been my kind of thing that I like to play, kind of blue-red spellsy decks. During Kaladesh, I can't remember if Arming had come in at this point or what. You know, a deck I really enjoyed playing was the blue-red Dynavolt Tower deck, which was very, very, I believe, like, that deck was good, and I think it got caught in the crossfire of everyone trying to fight artifacts, like Heart of Kiran and Earthworks Marvel, and it just became more and more untenable. Glad I held off on killing this, because Steamkin is one of the hardest cards to deal with. Let's get rid of this as well. So I'm going to try and play controlling here, and then the long-term goal is to land the Enigma Drake that's pretty big on a fairly empty-ish board. Although, drawing a second Drake does change things a little bit. I might try and get this one down, hold up a shock, because unless my opponent goes Mountain and then the Experimental Frenzy straight away, it would be nice to kind of like hold this Ionize to get an Experimental Frenzy. Let's create some removal then. It's one of the, like, I think putting in the rest of the Drakes will hopefully improve the mono red matchup a little bit, because 4 toughness is, you know, largely going to be 2 spells unless they have a Lava Coil. Okay, so there's a Mountain. So now we are kind of on Experimental Frenzy watch. So we'll see what happens on this turn. Because, you know, if the last card is Experimental Frenzy, we get to counter it, and then we get to start playing Drakes out. Played a whole pile of nothing there. We're also only 1 land away from being able to play Enigma Drake and Ionize, so that's quite nice. Viashina Pyromancer. That card I think is deceptively one of the best ones in mono red. It's just, you know, it's essentially, you know, it's always going to get 2 damage in. And it's just, you know, I think the other thing that it just always turns on Wizards of Lightning. And I think that's really, really underrated fact about that card, is that it just always turns on Wizards of Lightning. Okay, so we'll see what happens here with the Enigma Drake, because what our opponent does next is going to tell us a lot about what's happening in their hand. So Chain Whirler, happy letting that resolve. So what's the last card? Shock. Let's Ionize that, because otherwise they can Firebrand it down. And now we get a block in on... We can't block Pyromancer, but we can block Firebrand. So let's see what happens now. So let's play the Drake. Searchraz Canter's pretty nice, because that should flip fairly immediately. I think I'm actually going to kill this Firebrand instead of playing Searchraz Canter, because I want my blocks to be as good as they can be, and essentially with that Firebrand on the table, what they can do is kill either of these drakes in response to first strike damage. And keeping both these drakes alive is quite important. Ooh. Expansion explosion is pretty nice. Okay, so search down. Gonna attack with an Enigma Drake here. And the reason for that is that Grappling Drake can hold off some of this stuff. And if they try and kill Enigma Drake, we can have expansion for that. And then all we have to do is survive this turn, and we just explosion and win. 3-5. So take 5, we go down to 4. The last card, is there anything that deals 4 to face? Risk factor? Yeah, I think we just take it here, because we just win otherwise. Going to transform this in case we need an Ionize. And it could just be slow rolling Lightning Strike. So I want to do this for exactly 1, in case they are slow rolling Lightning Strike, and we can respond with our own Lightning Strike. Ultimately, we can just win. This is unusual. We usually don't beat mono red as much as we have been doing on this string, which is something I'm absolutely going to take while it's there. Definitely a good. The Enigma Drakes are definitely proving their worth right now, and then Arena disappeared. Well, everyone can enjoy this look at my desktop while we open Arena again. Not much to see. A tenant's agreement. The image of the desktop background that's here. I have to admit, like, Arena's been pretty, like, functional for me. I've never seen it just crash like that. Weird. Oh, it still counted as a win for me, so that's what matters. I've definitely had some cases. The only bug I've had on Arena that's been particularly annoying is occasionally you'll just get stuck on this screen you can see now, and you get stuck there for a minute, and then, or even like 5 minutes, and you're just like, okay, I'll close the program, and then you open the program again, and it turns out you've just lost. And you can claim compensation, but it's a bit annoying. This is why I need to remove these Is It guild gates. No, I don't. Even though it's got a functional mix of lands and spells, it just actually feels too slow. Although now this mulligan to 6 is making me regret it, as is this mull to 5. This is not the worst mulligan to 4 I've ever seen. I suspect our opponent will be able to take good advantage of it though. Basic Swamp Go. That's a new one. Okay, there we go. Wild Growth Walker. So that is a card that can get out of hand pretty fast. So let's Lightning Strike that. Gonna save the Lava Coil for anything we don't particularly want to get returned. Especially because I've been seeing more and more of these green-black decks playing Journey to Eternity, which is sweet. But that's definitely a case where you want your Lava Cores. There I'm just giving the Jade Light Ranger because we desperately need to buy time. And there's a Wild Growth Walker, I suspect followed up with a Merfolk Branch Walker. Secret Squire. So kill that one on the stack. I mean, as far as this multifor has been, it's not been horrendous. Like, if we find another land for Crackling Drake, I mean, a Crackling Drake that will probably die straight away, but, you know, we wouldn't be massively out of it. Especially if we found another land, you know. I mean, the main thing I'm now worried about is this Wild Growth Walker getting massively out of hand. There's a fine broker. That will probably get, imagine actually a Seeker Squire. Yep. Grow that Walker. Meanwhile, I'm going to try and find line drops. Yeah, nah, we may have now crossed the Rubicon of how many land drops we could miss. I mean, I think the 7 we kept would not have been better. Um, you know, I think we'd still be kind of like struggling behind, except more so, we wouldn't be able to kill that first Wild Growth Walker in the first place. Maybe could have blocked and then shocked there. Yeah, that's going to be enough, I think. Unfortunate, but you know, mulligans. I'm kicking myself a bit for forgetting to replace those as a guild gates because I really just think a basic land is better. Um, Even just from the perspective that, you know, you're playing a playset of Sulphur Falls, so having more basics is positive there. This is an okay hand. I think it's one of the interesting things about Standard right now is that the metagame is still so diverse and it's still evolving that it can be very difficult, I think, to really know what's a good hand in a vacuum. Like, this is terrible against mono red, but might be better against a more control-y deck. Or in this case, an opponent stuck on 2 lands. There's an argument for playing Steam Vents there, but you never know what you might want to expansion. Oh, we're getting the good game on turn 2. Okay, people. It's definitely a thing I've noticed on Arena is people definitely concede really early, particularly if their land's screwed. Like we did, like it's especially against a deck like Blue Red Drakes, or Blue Red Phoenixes. You know, like a deck in its mind can take a while to kill you. There's definitely things that you could have drawn or found in the meantime. You know, if people are going to concede to me on turn 2, I'm gonna take that free win. And if it, nice of you to show your face. We'll keep this one. It's definitely a bit clunky, for sure. But we are on the draw, and we definitely have the cards to buy us time in the interim. Ooh, yeah. I can tell you from experience, this is not a deck you want to be on the draw against. I like mono blue, but good lord, is it an infuriating deck to play against. Do we want to wait till they tap out on their turn, or I don't know? Yeah, mono blue. It can be a very frustrating deck, even with a lot of removal, because you know they can just play kind of, you know, protect, or protect 1. Definitely when I'm playing my blue-black deck, I prefer this one because you get things like Ritual of Soot and name of the card. Golden Demise and Plague Mare, which they can't dive down, because you know you'll learn to love dive down, learn to hate dive down. I'm also being punished for using Lava Coil there. I should have saved it because I know Tempest Gin is in this deck. I think here we're going for Surge Transcanter. Purely because we need to hit land drops, and it feels like that's the best way to do it. Like, Lightning Striking Warkite Marauder doesn't do that much because, you know, the card to watch out for here is Curious Obsession, and if they had a Curious Obsession, they would stick it on that anyway. Okay. We're dead next turn unless we find something that kills Tempest Gin. So I think we actually have to get rid of a land here and hope of drawing Lava Coil. Okay, well let's buy do we get to buy ourselves a turn? We do. Although we're dead to an island, so... I really don't know what we could possibly draw. Not a Goblin Electromancer. Yeah. I mean, it's one of the downsides to playing any of the formats that are best of one, is that you can very easily just find yourself in kind of matchups like that where you just kind of get blown away very quickly. I mean, I do play the competitive constructing events where I can. It's an interesting prize structure. You only need to win twice to get your money back. Oh, that's a weird one. And you get the best of three element, but I'd rather be doing the best of threes and actually have some of the sideboard cards for this deck. It's weird to just kind of be hurting for Fiery Cannonade of all things. I think I'm okay with this one on the draw. There's no removal, which is unfortunate, but you kind of have a lot of our power cards. Isolated Chapel, so it's probably going to be like Black White Life Gain or Vampires or something. I'll take this opportunity to resolve an Necromancer. Let's see what our opponent's up to. Lots of tap lands is what our opponent is up to. Okay, cast down on us. That's actually surprisingly annoying. Oh, this might be Esper. In which case, being stuck on lands, we aren't going to get punished straight away for it, but it's not great. Okay, we're going to discard our hand size if we don't play this. So Esper's... I don't know too much about Esper, but in my head it's only got one win con, and that's Chromium. Which is very hard for us to beat. For sure. On the other hand, though, it does give us a bit of time, and we kind of have 4 threats in hand, one of which is Niv-Mizzet. So I'm going to Chemist's Insight. So you might need to kind of try and put the pressure on them. Actually, the other win condition they tend to run sometimes is name's escaping me. Dream Eater, and that's why I'm not playing something out this turn to try and counter a Dream Eater. I'm like gonna try and take a little bit of advantage of the fact that I feel like our opponent is probably what to discard, probably Chemist's Insight, maybe. Is that our opponent's sitting on a bunch of removal that doesn't do anything right now, and kind of working from there. Chromium can't be countered, right? That's what the rider on Chromium is. It's not just the randomly make it hexproof thing. Let's opt. This is maybe not a great idea. They could Dream Meter in response. They're going to Chemist's Insight instead. Mostly we're just looking for lands right now. Take a Radical Idea. There's a land. Opponent is currently on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 cards in hand. got rid of Cast Down, Essence Scatter. So I think the key for us is to maybe A, play a bit of a burn game, try and prompt some responses from them. This deck is not going to be heavy on removal spells. So, could go for the burn. I'm going to try Chemist's Insight, discarding Shock, see what they do here. Like, Niv Mizzet is going to be a really valuable... That goes Ritual Set. Niv Mizzet is going to be a really valuable tool in this matchup. Electromancer is not going to do much here, and the only thing we're holding up anyway is Iron Eyes, and that's not affected by this, so... Yep. So let's try and whittle down their resources one by one, and take advantage of the fact that we probably have more win conditions than they do. But yeah, a lot of this is going to be Niv Mizzet. It's going to be very hard for them to deal with. I don't know if this deck plays Chupacabras. It probably plays Vraska's Contempts, maybe the Eldest Reborn, but you know, we want to try and get this out in a position where they can't get parity from it. Developing our mana base is quite nice here. Kind of getting to that point where we might be able to kind of go like, ooh, you know, Crackling Drake with Iron Eyes backup, or even Enigma Drake with Iron Eyes backup. We could do pretty soon. We want to try and pick our spot where we can try and win a counter wall. Because the other thing is that I mean, just on the other screen that I have, I'm just going to quickly look up what Chromium actually does. Okay, Chromium does have Flash. So that kind of takes away one of the things I was going to try and do, which was wait till they tapped out for Chromium, and then try and resolve like a bunch of Drakes. So Drake. And they're thinking about something here. Sabotage. And they're actually, in just looking, they're actually a little bit constrained on blue mana, so... let's get down a Crackling Drake, Gospel mana. It's this Essence Scatter that's left, that's unfortunate, but there you go. There's an Iron Eyes again. Yeah, the other question here is, do they have to tap out? Do they have to start tapping mana in their turn to get around this streak? Because next turn as well, we can play Niv Mizzet with Iron Eyes. And Niv Mizzet and Chromium, I think, have some fairly fun interactions about when damage is marked on things. Our opponents being very careful to tap their mana in the way they want. Ixalan's Binding. Don't see those very often, but man, is it a good card. Niv Mizzet is nice as well because it can't be countered. Which, you know, if they kind of sit on a sinister sabotage, they're kind of be there going like, ugh. Niv Mizzet. Now, the one unfortunate fact to that is that we do have to pay 2 life. Of their removal, we know Cast Down won't work as well. Well, that said, Ixalan's Binding would if they had another one, in which case we would just be dead. Vraska's Contempt. Draw a card. Okay, so what we're going to do, I think how this works is we get to mark a damage on Chromium. And then if we expansion, no, not explosion, how do I now get out of this? There's a way of getting out of this, right? Okay, right, you have to try and pay too much for it. So now we expansion Vraska's Contempt. Draw a card there. So hopefully they then have to tap out for a counter spell, and then we... So I think unless they have a counter spell for shock, because if we target that and they make it hexproof, then I think the 1 damage on it will kill Chromium. But if they've got a Sinister Sabotage to the last card, this doesn't work. Although they could just let Chromium take the damage. Oh no, because if then our Vraska's Contempt will get rid of it. I think. No, that doesn't work like that. I think it messed up the stack a bit there. Ah well, I don't know if there was a way around that. No, I don't think we could have done anything there. Even if we kind of arranged the stack how we thought, we didn't have enough Niv-Mizzet pings to kill. Yeah, we didn't. I don't think. Oh. Live and learn. Oh. Right, I think I'm going to wrap it up there after a couple of leagues, mainly because I need to make food, which is good for eating. Yeah, if you were watching, thanks for watching. I'm going to try and keep doing some kind of like pure magic streams here and there, so, thanks for coming along, have a good evening, and, let me keep filling for time while I try and find the stop streaming button, which is here, so, have a good night everyone.